Welcome back, everybody. As you probably guessed from the title of the video, we are going over more ATF nonsense today. Yesterday, as of when I recorded this video, they announced a new frame or receiver rule, further defining what a frame or receiver is in terms of being a firearm, what needs to be transferred on a 44.7D3, those sorts of things. There is rather some ambiguity in their letter as well as their press release, and we'll get into that and sort of what it means for everybody out there. It's not good, I can tell you that much. So just real quick on the press release, you can see it comes out of Washington and says that they announced a new open letter as to what a firearm or receiver is regarding referencing rather their final rule 2021-05F, which went into effect, according to them anyway, in August of this year. Now, just a real quick backup for folks who haven't been following all of this saga. The frame or receiver in terms of what is a firearm is actually law. It was passed by Congress, and the ATF does not have the authority to make law. They do not have that authority. Again, it's simply Congress, and then it has to be signed into law by the president. That said, the ATF thinks they have the ability to make that law, and in fact, they've made several decisions or issued certain letters in the past that directly contradict what they're saying here in this letter. And one of them was very recently in a lawsuit filed by the FPC, which we will get into here in just a second. But a quick overview, again, back to the press release, it says that today's open letter clarifies, which it really doesn't, to the firearm industry and the public how the August 22 final rule addresses partially complete, disassembled, or non-functional semi-automatic striker-fired pistol frames or parts kits manufactured or sold by Polymer 80, Lone Wolf, and others. Now, the others part is the huge piece of ambiguity to what I'm about to show you in the actual final letter itself. Now, I will leave a link so that way all of you can actually go down and reference this letter. I'm not going to cover each and every paragraph, so if you want to, just check out the link down below in the video descriptions. Now, getting into the letter itself, you guys will see there that it does list the definition of what a firearm is according to the actual law, again, not according to ATF opinion. Then we get into their new analysis where it says there are many partially complete, disassembled, or non-functional semi-automatic pistol frames being marketed as so-called partially complete or 80% frames. Now, I need to interject there. They say so-called. That is actually an ATF term. 80% frame is not a law term. It's not in the law of the United States. It's something the ATF rather has used over the years to distinguish between what is actually a firearm and what isn't. They're saying so-called. They're the ones who so-called it that. So anyway, getting back into it, the federal firearm statutes and regulations, however, do not employ terms like 80% or 80% finished or 80% complete. You're correct, ATF. You are the ones who's done that over the years. These are merely terms used by some to market these items. They're not based upon rather application of the term readily in the GCA or final rule of 2105F. Now, the Gun Control Act is an actual law. It's very important to distinguish these two things as we go along. It's a real thing, whereas the final rule 2021-05F is an ATF opinion. It goes on to say, as used in the GCA in the final rule, the term readily does not involve evaluation of a percentage of completion for an item that, when completed, will function as a frame or receiver. Rather, the analysis examines how effectively, quickly, and easily a clearly identifiable component of a weapon can be completed, assembled, restored, and otherwise converted to house or provide the structure for the applicable fire control component. The next paragraph continues on the above mentioned partially complete pistol frames and products manufactured by Polymer 80, Lone Wolf, and similarly partially complete frames used to assemble semi-automatic striker-fired pistols, the critical area of the frame are the front and rear fire control cavities. The front and rear cavities are critical because these areas provide the housing for the sear. We'll get into that here in just a second. As further explained and illustrated below, removing or indexing any material in these critical areas or completing or indexing any of the pinholes necessary to install the sear, therefore, are crucial steps in producing a functional frame. Now, it goes into these pictures here that we will show you. Basically, it's giving examples of a Glock-style firearms, what they say is a frame, what isn't a frame, etc. Now, it does go into the specific areas of these types of firearms where a sear can go in. You guys should be seeing this here on your screen. But the big thing here is readily convertible. So let's move on to that. In the Gun Control Act, Section 478.11 defines readily as the process, action, or physical state that is fairly or reasonably efficient, quick, and easy, but not necessarily the most efficient, speediest, or easiest process, action, or physical state. With respect to the classification of firearms, factors relevant to making this determination shall include the following: time, ease, expertise, equipment, parts availability, expense, scope, and feasibility. That's what they're using for this. Now, if you actually critically look at that list of features that I just talked about there, anybody who kind of understands how firearms work understands that readily can be used for just about anything, any block of aluminum, any piece of polymer, any existing firearm that is currently a firearm that can be converted into something else under the Gun Control Act. So what do I mean by that? Well, for example, they go through in their diagram and point out that you can actually put the sear of a striker fire pistol into the frame. Well, if you take an actual, a piece of polymer, it's pretty easy. If you had a Dremel tool and just like an outline of what a Glock, for example, looks like in your head, you could make those parts fit readily, pretty easily. I would guesstimate in a number of hours if you actually knew what you're doing, or there was some sort of online tutorial, which of course there are a million at this point because we have the First Amendment in America. So really anything can fit into this definition, which is a extremely slippery slope. Now, this particular letter focuses on striker fire pistols. I've read, legal opinions over the last couple of days by attorneys who say that it only applies to them, but I don't believe it does. If you actually read it, at least in layman's term, the term other comes up over and over and over again. So if it's saying other, well, then are they taking into account, like, let's say AR-15 receivers, which most of them with a simple drill bit and an additional hammer and a sear, which can be readily bought and are perfectly legal in America, can be readily converted into machine guns. So all AR-15 lowers now machine guns? That's the slippery slope we go down here with this ruling. Now, that may seem insane to a lot of you watching this and say, oh, that's crazy conspiracy theory talk. Well, guess what? Back in August, what they're saying here in terms of frames or receivers was conspiracy talk as well. They were in court in Texas saying that as long as, for example, a Polymer 80 or a Lone Wolf receiver didn't come with instructions, didn't have markings on the frame, didn't come with a jig, that it wasn't a firearm. And magically, 4 or 5 months later, now they're saying that it absolutely is. And if you are to sell it, it needs to be transferred on a 4473. So you can see here that the slippery slope of the ATF's rulings and interpretations is pretty darn steep, and things change very quickly according to them. Now, of course, this will be challenged in court, and for the meantime, most FFLs will not be able to sell these to private citizens for them to create their own firearms at home. One thing I should mention here, because I know not everybody watches all my videos who's watching this video, is that in America, it's perfectly legal, always has been since 1791, to build your own firearm for your own personal use here in America. There's nothing illegal about it. It's perfectly legal. The only time that you would need to do a background check after 1968 is when there was a sale of said firearm. So that is the problem here for folks. I don't know if this is going to apply to 3D printers. I would imagine at this point it's not. But again, 5 months ago, this only applied rather to things that had jigs and instructions. Who's to say 5 months from now that you won't be able to buy a 3D printer on Amazon because it's readily convertible to a firearm? That is the danger that we are looking at here in America. Obviously, with the recent EPA ruling by the Supreme Court, they've said that executive agencies don't have the ability to make law, but obviously that is exactly what the ATF is attempting to do here. Honestly, guys, we're going to leave it there because I don't know where this is going to go. Let me know what you think down below in the comments section, what you think this will lead to, what you think it means now, and what's coming in the future. Speaking of that, as of when I'm recording this, it's December 28th. The pistol brace rule is probably coming very soon, so stay tuned for that. Make sure you're subscribed so that we can get the updates on that, because of course we will be covering it as soon as that rule drops. That's about all I have for you guys. If you have any questions, anything like that, you can post them down below in the comments as always. You can also post them over at my various social media sites. I post all types of things over there, typically before I do here, simply because it takes a little bit of time to make a video, not so much to make a social media post. Additionally, any of these things go on sale: jigs, receivers, kits, I will post them up on my social media sites if you guys choose to pick them up, or any of the associated accessories that go with them, barrels, slides, etc. They will be on my social media sites that you guys see here on your screen. If you guys like this type of video, again, make sure you hit the subscribe button. I'm sure more of this is coming in the very short future. Additionally, if you're subscribed, you're not seeing 2 to 4 videos a week here on the channel, you can sign up for my email list here at the website on your screen. This email goes out once a month at most, and it has all of the videos since the previous month's email went out. So that way there's no big tech giant censoring your eyes from my content. And if you guys want the best deals on anything, ammo, guns, parts, sights, optics, all of those sorts of things, make sure you sign up for my daily deals email at the website here on your screen. It goes out every day as the name indicates, and it has 6 or 7 of the best deals, as well as a pretty good meme that most of you will like. And if it's in that email, it is the cheapest I know of anywhere on the internet, so that way it saves you guys some time and some money because I've already done the looking for you. And that's all I got for you. Not looking good, guys. Thanks for watching. Truly appreciate it. Share this video everywhere, and I look forward to seeing everybody in the next video.